Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about Boekstart in Flanders. It seemed relevant to me to talk about scale first. And since you were talking about Australia last week, it was funny to show the size of Belgium. That is like really small compared to Australia. And even then, it's like the size of Tasmania. And then still, we're only talking about the northern part for Boekstart Flanders and Brussels. So the small gray spot you can see in the green part is Brussels, is the Dutch-speaking part of Brussels. So we're talking, though it's a very small region, it's very densely populated. We're talking about 7 million people and 70,000 birds a year, just to give you an idea. So Boekstart started in Flanders as Book Babies, and that was in 2005. It was a 2-year program. And just like in Japan, it was for 300 families with different backgrounds. They received during the period of 6 months, when the baby was 6 months old or until 2.5 years old, they received several packs of free books. And there was some research involved from the University of Antwerp and Ghent. And they wanted to know how the families use the books in their everyday life. So how did they gain insight? They wanted to research about how they gain insight into early reading promotion, how it's realized within the family context. They wanted to see what the difference in reading cultures in different families was. And they wanted to look for good examples and good practices. It was a success. And that's when the Boekstart program, like still Book Babies, but the Boekstart program as we know it today started in 2008. It started very small with only 20 communities or municipalities and cities. So there were 2 packs. At the age of 6 months, families with a baby of 6 months received the first pack in a health center. So it's always offered by the volunteer who takes care of the baby, who does the control of the baby. And the second pack is offered at the library at the age of 15 months. The research from the 2 universities showed that there was a big threshold to libraries. So for families, it was much more of a threshold to go and get a pack in the library than it was in the health center. So that's why we still work with health centers and volunteers. So here you can see a volunteer offering a Boekstart pack to a young mom and a baby. So she offers the first pack, and she also gives the voucher for the second pack at 15 months already. So the Boekstart project was growing and growing, and in 2015 there were over 100 municipalities and cities involved. So it may be important to say that they have to pay for to join the program, but I will talk about that later. In 2016, it was time for a name change. So then Book Babies Flanders became Boekstart, like it is globally. There was a new style, a new name. This is how our baby pack looks like. So it includes a soft book, information about reading. And since this year, it also includes a growth chart. I don't know if that's a clear word for in English. So it looks like this. I don't know if it's clear for everyone, but so it talks about the different phases of reading aloud with young babies. And then it has a QR code that people can scan. And that's how we want to cope with the situation of multilingualism. So we have behind the QR code, there are all small videos about how to read aloud with the children, and we did some subtitling explaining the situation in over 15 languages that are used in Belgium, so we can really reach all families. Then we have our toddler pack. It includes 2 books and more information about the Boekstart in a nice pack. 2018 was a very important year for Boekstart Flanders because the Flemish government decided to invest in the Boekstart program. That made it a lot more interesting for local communities and cities to join the Boekstart program. It meant it means that the Flemish government pays the first part of the Boekstart program, like they pay for the baby packs, and the local authorities still have to invest in the toddler packs. So and financially, it's much more interesting. We aim to reach all newborn babies in Flanders with the baby packs, and we aim to reach like 50% of the toddlers with the toddler pack, so they can. So that's how they should count their investment. So 2019 now, we cover 204 of the 319 communities in Flanders. That means 44,000 baby packs at the age of 6 months and 25,000 toddler packs at the age of 15 months. Since Boekstart is going so fast, we want to invest more in making in the professional approach of the volunteers and the librarians, because we still found that that's a big challenge. I'm very curious if that's the same in other countries, so I would like to hear your opinion about that afterwards. So we want to give them more tools so they can own the Boekstart program together with us. What do we do before we start a Boekstart program in a community or city? We do an information session. We have, so that's like the basic information, practical information, the results of international research. And we do that for all the partners included in the Boekstart program locally. Then we have a communication training for people working in libraries and for volunteers in the health center. It's about how do you approach young parents, what's the story to tell, what not to tell, also important, like Izumi told us as well. And we have a third training about how to read aloud to babies and toddlers. And it's like a 2-day Boekstart bot. So people can really improve their skills, their read aloud skills. Last year, the Boekstart team, me and a colleague Gita, came into the Boekstart team, so we had more people and we could have more closer contact with all the libraries and the Boekstart communities. We did a tour in all the Boekstart communities of Flanders to really talk to them for half a day. How is the program going? What's difficult? What's going well? What do you miss in the support? What could go better? And it was a very yes, we really had a lot of valuable information from that. It took a lot of time, but it was also really worth it, because we could see all the libraries and all the local people involved could really appreciate it. Oops. Yeah, we organized with all the information we got on the tour. We saw that a lot of problems always came back in different libraries, and then we organized inspiration days, what I will talk about later. But we also made like 3 videos. It's like 3 parodies about situations that we think are difficult in libraries, or that we would love to go different in libraries. It's a little bit sensitive. We're thinking a long time about should we do it or should we not do it, because a lot of people are looking in a mirror in a good way or in a bad way. I think it's maybe worth showing you. It's in Dutch, but I can just talk what happens. Tell you what happens. So the title is Boekstart, How Do You Do It? Or Better Not? She's coming to a library, and the librarian is really not interested. She said, "Oh, that's a baby." And Boekstart is, she says, like, you cannot read aloud to babies. They're way too young. It's not worth it. What do you think? It's not hygienical, the books for babies. What brings you here? It's Facebook. They don't know what they're talking about. There are more babies coming, the mom says. She said, "Oh, it's going completely out of control." Can I see the Boekstart corner with the baby books? She says, "No, we're not a kindergarten. You just want to drop your baby and go shopping. That's not how it works." Fine. And then I pause the video, so we have like a bad example, and then we show them like an extremely exaggerated good example. So now there's a pregnant woman coming in the library. She's over enthusiastic, and she said, "Oh, we have so much to do for babies: yoga, theater, dances, and we have a little cafe for parents, breakfasts, parties, and a book start day with everyone involved." And then she talks about read aloud moments for babies. We also have read aloud moments for pregnant women and babies in the belly. And then she's really reading to the belly. And then we end the video like book starts. Luckily, it's simpler. It's more simple than that. So it was kind of risky to show this to librarians, like some librarians, but well, most of them could laugh with it, and I think it worked. And we have like 2 more versions of it. It's a different approach to show them how Bookstart can work or not, but maybe it's something they will remember more. Yeah, we use this video for our inspiration days. We organized last month. We went to 4 regions in Flanders, and we organized a day with information about Bookstart. It was very simple. We just invited speakers and researchers who are specialized in reaching families who are hard to reach, like people with a lower income, migrants, those kind of families, and they had tips and tricks and researchers all about how to reach those people. We had also some sessions about multilingualism and how to cope with that, because in Flanders it's sometimes very sensitive or difficult in the different communities and cities how they cope with it. But the main aim of these days were to bring the different libraries in contact with each other, and so they could exchange information about how they experience Bookstart, what goes well, what doesn't go well. So because we think it's better that they hear it from each other than that they hear it top down from us. And that was a really good experience. They did a lot of brainstorms together and a lot of simple ideas. We really want to say like Bookstart is very simple. You don't always have to, because you're a small library or a big city, you don't have to compare with each other, but we can learn from small good practices. We are working on a new website right now, and it will be launched in May. And after that, we will make a Bookstart monitor. It's like a toolkit to evaluate and plan Bookstart in the different communities. So libraries can choose their own focus that they want to put more attention on in the year to follow. And then they can, we will support them in that. We will give them inspiration, and they have like this online evaluation tool to do the follow-up for the program, so we can see what's relevant to work on for the next few years. And that's actually it. So I hope in my next presentation I can talk with you about Bookstart Monitor and how it goes.
Thank you, Lotte. Some lovely ideas there. I love the concept of inspiration days. No?
I had a question.
Absolutely.
If that's okay.
Yes, go for it, Annie.
I was really interested in the contents of the baby pack and the growth chart and the QR codes and all of, and I think I love that idea of how you're linking through to, I think, did you say videos showing how it would be good to read to a child at the different stages? And I just wondered if you could say a little bit more about that and how you developed it, and maybe whether, like, what you've learned about whether or not people are watching videos, whether that's working.
Yeah, I can also send them to you to give an example. So because we also have them in English translation. So it's five stages of the reading aloud growth charts, let's say. And it's very practical. You always see a mom or a child or someone in childcare with a baby and how she does it, and it explains it very simply how to do it, because you can always say it to people, but it's different just seeing it in a video. And it's not really a subtitling, but we explain in the different languages what they are doing. Yeah, and then people can scan the QR code. Then they come on a list with all kind of languages we have. They click on their language and they get the video from the QR code they scanned with the like for the first month. They get the video of the first month in their language. It's like 1 minute video. It's very short, but it gives a better idea than just painting or drawing. Yeah.
And do you think, do you know how much they're being viewed?
Yeah, I control it. I control it. It's only in the packs since January, but it works. You can see that the first one always works better than the last one, but they are being watched. Yeah, it's also difficult to choose which languages do we offer, because you don't want to exclude anyone, but it does take some work as well. So we also evaluate that. So for the future, will we keep to all those languages, or maybe it's not necessary? It's difficult to choose the languages that are really necessary for your country, I think, because it's really a lot. Yeah, and it depends a lot of cities or local communities. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. It's really interesting.
Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Sumi, you were mentioning that your selection committee convenes every 2 years, and I'm just wondering if you could speak a little bit about the selection committee process.
Okay. Yes. We are changing the how we choose it, but at the moment, we choose 5 panels, and they are pediatrician and librarian and nursery nurse and children's bookshop keeper and volunteer, reading volunteer. So they are from different backgrounds, and they are asked well beforehand to choose 30 different titles which they think appropriate for Bookstart. And any book is all right, any book published in Japan for babies. So we have a baby book library in our office, and all publishers send us a sample whenever they publish baby books. And it's out of capacity now, but yeah, we've got that. And any book in the market can be included in 30 titles. And then we have 2 days process of sharing the book, and we try with children, babies, and then would you like to know the details of how they choose it? We have 2 days discussion in different ways, and then when they choose 30 titles out of 150, then plus extra maybe 5 titles. Then we ask publishers, even though they are out of print, we ask the publishers of the 30 titles whether they agree to provide the book to us for 2 years at a very special price. And more, we haven't had any rejection from any publishers so far. So, and then when publishers agree, then it can be Bookstart 30 titles for the next 2 years. Yeah.
Thank
and
you.
We have, and they choose the book. We do not set very specific criteria for selection. But in the course of discussion, if something is not appropriate, they are really nicely selected. Yeah. Is that all right?
Thanks, Azumi.
Can I have a question at both of you. So the books you use, they are not special editions who are made for your project. They are books everyone can buy in the bookstores or bookshops. In both of your, right?
To Japanese Bookstart, are you? Is that the question to me?
To you and to Lotte as well. Both of
Yeah. Okay.
You can go first.
Okay. Yes. Yes. I think that it's the books in the market, and because we do not know how many books we will get orders from local authorities until we open the titles. So because the local authorities choose which one they want. So we do not know how many books we would order in the future. And we have, I think, 4 timings in a year to gather the order and order to publisher. So it's quite difficult for them to assume how many books, and also, so it's within the ordinary market process. Yes.
Lotte?
We receive books from the normal market, but we very often and more ask to do some adaptations on the books. And it comes, most of the time, it's about diversity and gender in the books. Like when we see a fireman, that's the last book we adapted, we ask to make it a firewoman. And sometimes when the baby is too white, let's say, we ask them to change the skin just a little, that is more neutral, because we really focus on diversity, especially in the cities, because like the numbers of population are really asking that, let's say, like diversity in population, it has to represent everyone. And that's so it's the books that in the store that you can see in the store, but with few adaptations, more often. Yeah.
Because in Germany, we changed in the last years. We started with books you can buy in the bookstore, but meanwhile we have special editions because of these reasons. So the companies, they have to build a new concept with these items, which are very important.
Thank you, Sabine. Any other questions?
I have a question for Lotte. I heard you're going to organize also an Inspiration Day for Parents in May.
Yeah.
And I know there's also a Bookstart Week in the UK. So I was, maybe for a future meeting, I was wondering if we could make maybe a Bookstart International Day for parents. I'm really wanted to hear next time what the experience is.
Yeah. Yes, for us it's the first time as well. It's always the thing goes there. It's sometimes difficult to get all libraries involved, and we really stimulate them to organize whatever it is, even if it's just small, and tell like the library is open today, especially for families with small children. Like for the first year, we don't really ask them to make like a super big program, because all depends on local budgets as well. And this is the first year we organize Bookstart Day, so it's like a trial edition, and we're very curious what it will give. It will be on the 18th of May. So yeah, I cannot say a lot about it yet. We're happy about the collaboration for now, but I can tell you more about it in the next meetings.
What do you do as a national foundation? What do you give the libraries to make the day a success? And what do the libraries themselves? So I'm very curious, maybe another time when we're talking about marketing and communication.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing about that one too.
Yeah. Can I just add a comment to Marika's comment?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think International Bookstart Day in the future would be wonderful. Because when I first heard of the idea of global networking of book gifting, I thought it would be great if in some way people involved in the program locally can feel the connection internationally. Yeah, I think I'm very enjoying the connection with you on the laptop, and very exciting. But in Bookstart, I think so many people involved in the world, so many people, and that's it's the enthusiasm which makes the program going and going in any country. So if we can create an opportunity which they can feel that we are part of a very important initiative in the world, that would empower the program very much. So not soon, maybe not soon, but we can think about that. It would be wonderful.
It might be something to put on the agenda to think about when we've got the whole system up and working. We've got the website live, and we've got a few of these meetings happening with much more broader community. Might be worth looking at. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely will.
Okay.
Sure, we agenda that in the future for discussion. They're good.
Yeah. Excellent.
Nice idea.
Thanks, Peter. Were there any other questions to either of our speakers?
I have one more question to Lotte. You made the film for the libraries with a positive example and the negative. I think it's a really great idea. You made films like this for parents as well. That's the way, it's a good way to do it, and that's the way not so good?
No, because we had something we had like for the Read Aloud week last year. It was in the theme of Bookstart as well, and we had 3 kind of videos with famous people in Flanders doing the same. Not so explicit, but also they wanted to really read to the like a big book to their babies, and we wanted to say like the baby has to take the lead. So yeah, we have something particular for parents, but was more like a light version maybe.
So you have no experience how parents think about this? Maybe they
no, but because we also don't want them to think too much about it has to be like this, or we want to give them freedom. And I think it's difficult to do it like do and don't. It's more like you cannot control it. That's what we would like to learn them, rather than saying do it like this or do it like that. But same goes for librarians, but it's more like it's difficult to really explain, because it's so culturally it depends on culture as well, I think. But and if you can or cannot talk in this way to librarians, maybe it depends all on how it works locally. But yeah, with a little humor you can say a lot, I think.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sabine.